What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with Volume 2 or Episode 2 of my Uncanny X-Men collection. Be sure to check out my other video that's already dropped that shows issues 1 through 93. And then we pick up with the new X-Men. So we went all the way through 1 and saw the reprints all the way up to Giant Size X-Men 1 technically, and then into Uncanny X-Men 94. So that's where we're going to pick up. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and before you leave the video today, hit that like button and share this channel with your friends. So appreciate all of you stopping by. So here we go. So the mother of, or the genesis of the new X-Men starts with this one. Giant Size X-Men #1. This is a 3.5. I've thought about getting this thing cleaned and pressed. Unfortunately, because I would want to keep the yellow label. And it's signed by Herb Trippe, which was the first artist for Wolverine. I would have to send it to CGC. And with my previous experience, check out my last video where I talk about that. My previous experience with CGC and pressing and how long it takes and all that kind of jazz. I'm not sure I want to do that, but I would like the Giant Size X-Men logo up here and maintain the yellow. So just kind of holding on to it for right now. I used to have a 2.5, sold it, and just recently upgraded to this, a 3.5. And I do have a lot of variations of this particular book. I believe this one is a Spanish version of this. And of course, being as iconic of a cover as this one is, you have all kinds of homages to this particular book. This is Spirits of Vengeance, the lenticular, which doesn't always lenticulate, but you can certainly see the Giant Size X-Men there. The special edition of X-Men, again, these are back in the day before eBay and digital comics and all that kind of stuff, so you had to have reprints in order to see those old comics. I have a direct edition of this as well as the newsstand. And then we'll dive into X-Men 94. So this is the first appearance of the new X-Men team. They're fighting Count Nefaria and his little minions, and this is a 5.0. I bought this as a set with a Giant Size X-Men 1. That was the old copy of Giant Size X-Men I had before, which was a 2.5. I sold it and kept the 5.0. And so this is the second appearance of Nightcrawler, Storm, Thunderbird, and Colossus, and Sunfire leaves the team. You know, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's out of there. And this is the first time that Chris Claremont picks up with the X-Men. And for those X-Men readers out there, you know that Chris Claremont largely defined the X-Men that we know today. So that is 94. And then we have X-Men 95, which is the death of Thunderbird. And it's funny because they put death of Thunderbird, like as if, yeah, right. But no, Thunderbird has largely stayed dead. His brother, Warpath, took on the Thunderbird name and then picked his own. Is the character most everybody knows today. I'm wondering if with Krakoa he has been resurrected. There was a couple of things where he was undead with Selene and stuff over the years, but largely has stayed as a dead character. He goes after Count Nefaria, hits the deal, and the plane explodes and he dies. Got this at Bratz Comics last year on my way to Memphis Comic Expo, where I got Chris Claremont to sign this. Paid $100 for it and was really pleased when it came back as an 8.5. That little thing across the way there, I thought that was inside, but somehow or another I have gotten it scratched. Somehow or another, I've scratched that case. Crap. But anyway, because I didn't have it cleaned or pressed, and probably could press it. There's certainly a lot of indentions on the back that are pressable, no color breaking, and probably could bump it up to a 9. Don't know that I'm really interested in doing that, just because hey, it's 8.5, it's signed, and kind of leave it like that. But then we got a book that has, since House of X, Powers of 10 has gained in popularity, and that's X-Men 96. And so this is the first appearance of Moira McTaggart, the one that we now know as the one that has lived multiple lives. And so I picked this up at a deal for $40. They said 50, but I paid 40 for it. And a decent looking copy. There's one crease, and you really have to look for it, dog ear down here at the bottom. But this is her first appearance. I also have a Spanish version of that same copy. So it's gotten to be a bigger book. Then we got X-Men 97, My Brother, My Enemy. Cyclops must fight him alone. And of course, fighting against them too. Their powers cancel each other out, and it's largely just a toss-up. And I also have a Spanish copy of that book as well. Then we got X-Men 98. And so, the signal's back and you're gonna be in trouble. Yeah, so this is what leads into the Phoenix. And so picked this up at Bob's Comics for $40 last year. And then issue 99. So, even if we escape, how can we survive in the vacuum of space? I don't want a very good Russian accent. Then we got issue 100. Issue 100. There's been several homage covers of this over the years. And so I've got one right here, Avengers Academy. Homage to that issue there. Then the iconic cover, this was one that was kind of hard for me to find, which was X-Men 101. And it's usually the way it goes when you're looking for something, you can't find it. As soon as you find it, like they're everywhere, right? And so that's the way it was with this particular book with X-Men 101. This is the first appearance of the Phoenix. This particular issue I found on an auction website, and I guess I was spoiled to eBay because on the auction website I just assumed that they would ship it. So after I won the auction, they said, "Hey, you got to pick this up. You don't ship it. I don't live in Missouri." So they have a courier service that I had to pay an additional amount of money to, so it became not so great of a deal at the end of the day. This has what looks like a subscription, a sub crease. I'll get it right, or somebody maybe put it in their back pocket. But in either case, I thought that pressing would have took this out. I don't know if PGX just didn't do a good job in pressing it, but I think it should be a little bit better than that 5.0 that I inherited there. But I also have a British Pence version. This is only a 4.0, and I can see because it's pretty dirty on the back. But this one is a British Pence version, and it is signed by Chris Claremont. I picked that up off of IG. I also have a French version of X-Men 101 as well. And strangely enough, I think this is the only comic that I've ever picked up off of Amazon, not digital. I don't even know why I was even looking on Amazon for a comic, and I saw that. I got to pick that up. Then we got X-Men 102, fighting against the Juggernaut. Colossus, over the years, would have many bouts against the Juggernaut, eventually becoming the Juggernaut himself for a while. Then we got X-Men 103. Bought this at a comic shop in Monroe, Louisiana. And this is the one, looks like somebody clipped the end of it off for whatever reason. But other than that, it's a decent copy and got it at a decent price. Then we got X-Men 104. Classic. Kind of an homage to the first X-Men issue. And how they're all going against Magneto like that. 105. Picked this up for $20. And notice, and this is kind of where they're starting to see that, hey, Phoenix is a little more powerful than we remember her to be. But she's going off against the Herald of Galactus. Then we got X-Men 106. '07, which is the first appearance of the Starjammers. And I believe the Shi'ar Guard. Yeah, I believe the Shi'ar Guard, I think it's the first appearance of them as well. Picked that up at Comic-Con last year. Then we got X-Men 108. This is the first issue of John Byrne art. And so this kind of starts this does start the John Byrne era of X-Men. And then, of course, we lead into the first Vindicator. Picked this up for $35. This is another one that's kind of harder to find. Not that Vindicator is a big name character or anything. He is the head of Alpha Flight, whatever that's worth. So that is another John Byrne creation. And then we got X-Men 110. Going up against Arcade. 111. Step right up, test your strength. And pick that one up on eBay. And then we got 112. And this is my birthday book because this was released in August of 1978, the year and month I was born. Magneto Triumphant. All these years later, he would just say, hook that. I'm just going to pull it out of you. Then we got 113. As you can see, I picked it up for $10. And then we got 114. And the big thing about 114 is this is the first issue that they use the word Uncanny X-Men in it, instead of just simply X-Men. And we got 115. Here comes Sauron again, hypnotizing his folks. And if you got Sauron, you also got to have the Savage Land. So here's a 7.0 copy of 116. Look at Colossus whining like a little girl. But I bet you that metal's really hot. And you see where that heat is? Yeah, that's going to hurt. That's going to leave a mark. Then we got 117. First appearance of the Shadow King. Xavier fighting the Shadow King. 118. As much as Sunfire likes to whine, when he gets in trouble, guess who he calls? Not the Ghostbusters. Calls the X-Men. Hey, I know I said that I was too good for y'all, but I need John to help me out. Then we got Moses Magnum, I believe his name is, fighting off the X-Men. All BA, fighting them off. Moses Magnum, there you go. Then we got the first appearance, technically, of Alpha Flight in X-Men 120. They're in several panels. Not sure why this is listed as a first cameo as opposed to a first full appearance, but 121 is listed as the first full appearance of Alpha Flight. Then 122. Pick this up for $15. Yeah, Wolverine gives Colossus a pep talk. Hey, you're cool. You're going to make it. You're going to be all right. He says, thank you. That was a horrible Russian accent. Then we got some arcade action again with Uncanny X-Men 123. Uncanny X-Men 124. Then we got Uncanny X-Men 125. Picked this up for 35 bucks. And there was one on eBay that I missed out on. I really wish I had made it. Unfortunately, I didn't. It was one that was signed by John Byrne, whose signature I don't have. And it's on signed right there at the bottom on the first page, which is where they all used to sign. And so his was signed down there, and it had several other ones that I was looking for at the time. Alas, somebody came there at the last second, sniped me out. The way it goes on eBay sometimes. Then we got X-Men 126, In Search of Mutant X. And of course, we know that Mutant X is Proteus, who is the son of Moira McTaggart. And so Proteus is killed in the end. This in 128, Colossus, he's allergic to metal. Colossus hits him in the back, kills him for what that's worth. And then later on, he comes back in the annuals, it seems, and then he goes right away. He is resurrected. He is one of the five. He is one of the five in that resurrect the mutants on Krakoa now. So then we got 129, which is the first appearance of Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, Kate Pryde, Sprite, whatever she wants to call herself. Calls herself dead for right now in the present tense. And I believe the first appearance of the White Queen, maybe. Then we got Dazzler, dazzling everybody, the little disco queen action in Uncanny X-Men 130. Then we got some White Queen action in 131. And of course, now we are entering into the era of Dark Phoenix fixing to happen. And it's getting darker in the X-Men's world. Herald as one of the best storylines ever. Chris Claremont doesn't really write a short story. He writes a long story. And Herald is one of the best ever. And I think it certainly ranks up there, if not the best. So then 132, Sebastian Shaw kicking their butts before they figure out what's causing his powers. And then Wolverine does a little solo action. This is Wolverine's first solo action. And he's down there kicking butt. I believe this is the first one where we realize that Wolverine has a healing factor as well. So got that one. And then also the Marvel Legends version of that particular comic. And that's 133. Then in 134, this is the first appearance of Dark Phoenix. And so they finally messed her around. The Hellfire Club, Jason Wendell or whatever his name, really mastermind, trying to make out, seduces her, and unleashes the Dark Phoenix. And he's like, oh no, what did I do? And so 7.5, that's an old PGX grade there. So that is 134. And then we got 135, which is that homage to that Neil Adams cover that I mentioned in my previous video with the Pharaoh up there. I also have a lenticular. This is actually a Daredevil comic. Yeah, there you see Kingpin, but that's a lenticular of that particular issue there. So that's 135. Then in 136, we think, hey, they go out to the end. Professor X, takes Phoenix head on, and between Cyclops and him, they're able to stop her, and they think, okay, we've rescued her. She's not going to be Dark Phoenix anymore. And then that's when the Shi'ar says, yep, nope. You're going to have to pony up and pay for your crimes and your sins. And that's where the iconic cover, which another cover swipe, other cover swipes have been done of this particular book, 137. So this is in the batch of 4 or 5 books that I sent off when I first got back into collecting. And of course, when I was collecting before, slabs weren't even a thing. And so I sent this off, and I have learned a very painful price, an expensive price of not grading everything, and then watching the grades. And so I got this 3.0, and I'll tell you what, this thing hurt my feelings for sure when I got it. But hey, I got it. It's in the PC. Maybe I'll upgrade it one day. Maybe I won't. So she dies for the time being, at least. And then in the next issue, this was one of the other ones that was in that batch. Cyclops says, "Hey, I'm done. I'm going to take a break." Everybody else looks all sad in the back. "Cyclops, don't go. We understand you're sad, but don't go." And he gets out of there. So that's 138. 139. Kitty Pryde. Welcome to the X-Men Kitty Pryde. Hope you survived the experience. That moniker has been used multiple times over the years. It would be later used with Rogue. It was used with X-23 in the all-new X-Men. But she has a little solo fight, and they're like, "Hey, great." Back in the 80s, they went through an awful lot of horrible costumes for Kitty Pryde. And anyway, then we got 140. So had to put a little Wendigo action in there. Wendigo was in the first appearances of Wolverine, and so they fight Wendigo. It's kind of a filler issue before they move on to other things. Those other things being one of the other stories that's heralded as one of the better stories, and that is Days of Future Past. They made a movie out of the theme of it. This is the first appearance of Phoenix 2, or Rachel, Avalanche, Destiny, Pyro, and alternate future X-Men. Mystique makes an appearance here as well. And this is a cover. This one has been cover swiped multiple times as well over the years, with this being one of them. But yeah, so this was one of the ones that hurt my feelings that I got graded. And then this is the other one that I sent off at the same time. Yeah, these are decent books. About a little over $100 to get them in a 9.6, 9.8. I didn't pay that much for the books themselves. I bought them off of eBay altogether, and so it would have been okay if I just kept them and not paid the price to grade them. But you live and you learn hopefully. Then you got 143, and 143 is where John Byrne leaves off in the Christmas issue. This is the last Uncanny X-Men that he draws in this run. I think he comes back or hits an issue here or there, but not being the continuous. He's not the continuous artist like he was. So then we got 144. You got a little man thing on the cover. Ooh, and despair. Oh, if my man thing was on fire, I would be in despair too. 145. Dr. Doom acting all like a boss. Got his foot on Colossus, like, "Man, get down, Joker." I believe he's just a Doom bot, not the real Dr. Doom. And of course, then we've got Uncanny X-Men 146, which has Arcade in it. So this is the newsstand version of this. And then I also have a direct version of this. So this is about the time where direct started being more of a thing. And so you'll see that I have several directs and newsstands of various issues there. So 147, Storm goes a little rogue, and no pun intended, she's not like Rogue. But yes, about a 6.0 copy there. So that's 147. Then with 148, you've got the first appearance of Caliban. Not the meaty and buffy Caliban that many of the kids of the 90s would remember after Apocalypse had his way with him, but this is the weak and a little sickly looking Caliban that tried to marry Kitty Pryde, which we'll see in just a little bit, and was a member of the Morlocks. And so this first appearance of Caliban, and Spider-Woman and Dazzler have an appearance. So there you go. Magneto cameo on the last page. Yeah. Then in 149, we've got And the Dead Shall Bury the Living. Ooh. This is one of Kitty Pryde's less popular costumes. And then we got 150. X-Men are fighting. Kitty's then got, what happened? They said, look at that ugly costume. Get out of here. And that's an 8.5 copy of that. Enough said. Then we got 151. She said, if you don't like my costume, I'm going to leave. So we got 151, the direct edition. And then I got a 151 in a newsstand. Then we got 152. Notice that White Queen and Storm have switched costumes there. That is because they've switched minds. So she switches minds, which is a trick she'll later do, much later in the X-Men. But that's a Bob McLeod cover. Bob McLeod, known for New Mutants #1. Then we got Then we got the newsstand version of the same copy. We got 153. Kitty Pryde's back. Got a different costume now. And then this is her little Wonderland thing that she done and had this imagination and stuff. The Nightcrawler mini-series that came out at the same time as them being in that same little world. And then we got 154. Little Starjammers action there. 155. This is the first appearance of the Brood, I believe. 156. Starjammers are back. Paid $10 for that. We got 157. And so not really the Phoenix. We don't bring her back that quick. Then we got 158 direct edition. And then we got 158 the newsstand. And so this newsstand is also a Mark Jewelers version. So that's another one of the variants that you'll hear me talk about in my collection. 159. And I actually have 2 copies of 159 that direct for some reason. And then we got 160, which is the first Ilyana Rasputin as Magic. So she was in Giant Size X-Men 1, I believe, as a little girl. Then you got 161, a little flashback to action back in the day with Magneto and Professor X. Then we got 162, which is a Brood versus Wolverine story where his healing factor overcomes the Brood trying to infect him. I got a direct, and then I also have a newsstand version of that. Then we got 163. Kitty Pryde trying to avoid it. The Brood infecting her. It's like, well, just phase through. I mean, it's just a phase you're going through. Oh! Then we got 164. Binary. This is Carol Danvers shows up and becomes binary. And they did some kind of experiments on her and caused her powers to morph. So she was binary for a little while. Then we got 165. Storm gets impregnated with a Brood. And that's a newsstand. And then I also have a direct version of that. And then I've got a copy of 166. And then a copy of 167. And so supposedly Professor X dies from the Brood and they clone him, and that's when, I believe that's when he leaves the X-Men for a good while, until the Jim Lee era. Then we got 168. Kitty Pryde back up against the wall. She takes them on with Rocky's help. And we got 169, which I'm surprised is not a bigger key, because I believe this is where Angel technically loses his wings. He gets up against the Marauders, and that's the direct edition. Then I have a newsstand version of that. And we got 170. Storm goes up against Callisto and becomes the head of the Morlocks. And we got the newsstand version of the same comic. 171. Welcome to the X-Men and the Rogue. Hope you survived the experience. I mentioned that earlier as something that's used quite often. Wolverine plans to marry his love. Spoiler alert, it don't happen. That's the direct version of that. And then we got the newsstand version. Then we got 173, which is the first Wolverine and Rogue action together. And basically, he kisses her so that she can take his healing powers long enough to get healed. And so then he kind of buys into the fact that Rogue is a member of the team and not some evil doer like she was previously. And then we got 174. So it looks like Mastermind's trying to mess with Scott Summers' new love, Madeline Pryor. And that's the direct edition. And then also have a newsstand of that. Then 175. And that's got a 9.6 white pages. And so Scott Summer weds Madeline Pryor. So it's all fake. Phoenix isn't back yet. And he marries Madeline Pryor. So on their honeymoon, you know things can't be easy. So 176. Then 177. This is the direct version. And so in the direct version of this, and this was in several comics that same time, surgeons have generally determined that the assistant editor's month is dangerous to your health. It looks like it's dangerous to Kitty Pryde's health. Certainly her fashion health, because that's another lame costume for Kitty. 178, newsstand. Storm fights she's got the little mohawk motif at this point, and she's fighting off the Freedom Force. And then we got a 178 direct edition. 179. Kitty makes a deal with Caliban if the healer will heal somebody, I don't remember who it is, that she would marry him. He realizes at the end that she don't really want to marry him, and so he lets her go. What a guy. 180. Kitty's having a problem with Storm finding her inner self, her inner punk. So that's the newsstand version. And then we got the direct version. And then 181, Young Dragons Find Love. Ooh. Then 182. So this is the John Romita Jr. era of Uncanny X-Men. So then we got 183. Colossus needs to blows off some steam, so Wolverine takes him to a bar, knowing that Juggernaut's there, and he gets them into a fight against each other. And then at the end of the day, they're like, "Yeah, you feel better? Yeah, I feel okay. All right, great." 184, which is the first appearance, I believe, of Selene. If not, it's also the first appearance of Forge. 185, newsstand. 185, direct. 186, newsstand. 186, direct. Then we got 187. This is the Dire Rasp, which was a ROM person that he fought. 188. We got a newsstand. That's Phoenix 2 or Rachel Summers on the front. Then we got a direct. Then we got 189. Celine fighting Magma and Rachel Summers. We got 190. 191. This is the first Nimrod. That's a newsstand. And then we also got 191 in the direct version. 192. Or Magus, which is Warlock's father. 193. X-Men versus the Hellions. And the Thunderbird realizes that, hey, you know, it was my brother did what he did because he wanted to, which was die. 194, fighting against Nimrod. 195, Wolverine picking on Power Pat. 196, well, Secret Wars 2 tie-in, the Beyonder in there. 197, Doom looking like a boss. 198, well, Barry Windsor Smith action there. 199, Phoenix Born Again, talking about the second Phoenix, not Jean Grey at that point. And then we got 200, and so 200 is where Magneto becomes the headmaster of the school. Charles leaves and said, hey, could you take it over? And for a little while, Magneto turns over a new leaf. And so that's where we're going to stop at. So I appreciate everybody taking their time to watch this and other videos. If you haven't already, go ahead and go check out my first episode that's already dropped. And be sure to look for further episodes because we're going through all of the Uncanny X-Men. And looking forward to showing you my various collection with that. So be sure to hit that like button as you're exiting. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification. And until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.